Good morning. Hope everybody finds I find you well on this webinar. This is Justin Ford over at IAMS. Appreciate you having interest and taking your time out today to take a look at this webinar that we're going to be hosting in reference in conjunction with Assurity Life. Because we have a little bit of a mix of different crowds here this morning, I want to take a little bit of time in the morning to address two things on IAMS' behalf, just to keep you informed, and then I'm going to pass it over to the main event to Arianne from Assurity Life. Because we do have two different groups, one of which is going to be, you may be on the webinar taking a look at IAMS, looking to see if it is a partnership that you'd like to move forward with and have an interest in this topic. You may, secondly, also be one of the many producers that we collaborate with and partners. I want to thank you for your business year in, year after with us here at IAMS and your patronage. We want to continue to grow your practice as well. And oftentimes, just like in your practice with your clients, if you make a change into a service that you offer or a line of business, it sometimes can become difficult with all of the information out there to make sure your clients know about that change. So we want to make sure our advisors that are with us currently writing know about some upcoming things that we have here as we go forward. So let's go ahead and get into it. So first and foremost, one of the challenges, I wouldn't call it a challenge, one of the objectives we have here at IAMS in partnerships with new individual advisors joining us, our clients, is really getting the full, the situation where you can test us out started as quick as possible. We all do it. I've been working in the IMO industry for 2 decades and worked with countless producers and myself being one. You really don't know if you're going to stay with a shop and have someone's trust someone to be a partner in your business until you've actually gone through the whole process, right? You hear everything's lip service until there's action. So until that first application goes through and you get to meet the staff that process the application, find out how they move and how quickly on your behalf or not they move when there's a problem that occurs. That's really important. So we want to incentivize that as quick as possible up front, and we're going to pay you for it. So we have a producer incentive program. During your first 180 days with IAMS as a new producer, we're going to set up levels for you to incentivize you to get your first application in. The premium amounts here are on the board. You can get this piece from your primary relationship or contact at IAMS. Reach out today, and they'll get that to you. But essentially, we're going to pay you for whether it be a life insurance application, both single premium or target, whole life, or IUL, or an annuity. And so for annuities, it's essentially in $100,000 blocks, you build points at the $100,000 level. What we're going to do here is help you with areas of your practice, offset some of the costs that you have. All of this here that we have to put together packages in the world to make sense of things, but sky's the limit. Your business is as creative as you are. And so if you're hit one of these bonuses coming on board with this new, and you have something unique in your practice that you're already doing that works well for you, give us a call. We're open to spreading that as well. But reach out to your primary contact at IAMS today. They'll get you this list, and also let them know you want to be a part of this. So we tie that production, and we're tracking that back to you. We just want to know that you have interest, and we'll do everything we can to support you there. For those of you that are already with us, or those that are coming on board and like what you see already, and you've established trust, we appreciate your referrals. Over the years, our business has grown, as we'll talk about here at the end when we talk about our producer incentive trip, through relationships. It's a highly relationship-driven business. The wisdom of the crowd is very important, and we'd like to compensate you for finding more people that are just as great as you are. You're likely to hang out with those people, so we'd like to pay you for it, not out of their pocket. So we're going to do all the work taking care of the person you refer to us, getting their applications, getting their business set up, and we're going to not take any money out of their pocket, but we're going to pay you out of my pocket, or out of our pocket at IAMS, not mine personally. So here at IAMS, we've got for your first application, their first contract that they send in, you're going to get a $50 one-time bonus. For the first piece of business that they write during that time frame, you're going to get $100, and on top of it, it could be endless. Sky's the limit, because we're going to pay you basis points off of their target life, indexed annuity, single premium life, or multi-year fixed guaranteed annuities as well, not coming out of their pocket. That helps us all, again, be invested in each other's success. So I want to point that out as well. It's an active program. Let your marketer know, or primary contact, if you would like to discuss that further, and go from there. We appreciate your patronage. Once you do have that application with us, our back office support Support's one of the things that at one stage is they're supporting the practice and not always on the forefront, but it's the first thing that goes south in many cases when you have experience a challenge with the practice. The people supporting your applications from application all the way through processing are very important. We have a staff here at IMES, very different than some of the other IMOs with all the changes with COVID and people working from home, consultants being in the mix. Our staff is separated out in teams focusing with very specific carriers so they can build and establish relationships with those carriers, which benefits you. When you submit your first application with us, you will receive not only a phone call, but also an email and have a case partner working with you, case specialist on that case. So let me know if you have any questions on that, and we'll go from there. We are partners with Firelight. We do e-applications with Firelight and also iGo. So this digital world, and now often non-face-to-face world, if you will, has really weighed heavily on these e-applications that making business more simpler has become more to the forefront, and oftentimes we can't do it face-to-face, so we do support Firelight. We also have a partnership with iGo. And with Firelight, you can see here that we actively have companies available now, and we're working on your behalf, onloading new companies every day that are going to be on the Firelight program. Again, if you have any questions on Firelight, let your primary contact know. Changes. 2020 has definitely shown us that if anything, change is inevitable, and we have to change our practice to adapt. We had to do it here at IMES. I know most of America, regardless of what business you're in, you had to adapt to change. Change brings opportunity. At the end of the day, it may be tough for many of us, but change is an opportunity, and we need to capitalize it. One of the ways that we see the changes within our practices is how we market ourselves, how we allow access to our clients, how we communicate with our clients in a world where there's, I would say, a overwhelm of static or information out there and opinions. How do we define a clear mission or path? How do we essentially let people know the talent of you and your practice in an area, in a time where everybody's letting everybody know about everything? So how do we make you shine and become your velvet behind you as the diamond? We have a complete advertising and marketing team here in-house. Reach out to your marketer here if you have interest in any one-off idea, whether you're wanting to change up what you did because it doesn't work in the new COVID world, or you'd like to get back starting doing what you did because we're seeing things, slow down and become a little less tightened up in your community as far as doing dinner workshops. We can help. One of the things that we do that's different than other organizations, and this goes for both groups, is we'd like to engage with you and truly collaborate with you and make this a success. We're covering the overhead for our staff. We want to make sure that we're doing that to help grow. We really want this to work. It's not a revenue center for us. So anything that we do, it's important that it lines up directly with who you are. So we have to find out who you are. We will put together and meet with you and do a consultation to map out and do a complete marketing action plan with you based on where you want to go, where you have been, and analyze, do an analysis of your overall practice as it states today, whether that be, again, for change in the future, or if you want to, again, have a documented process, and we can monitor that going forward. So we will work with you on that. Reach out, again, to your primary contact at IMES. Let them know I'm interested in doing a marketing analysis and analysis of my practice. And again, that's important because we're here to help. As business development directors, we'll get that process started. But it's also important, again, that you raise your hand and say, I have an interest in that if you do. Or if you just have some questions, give me a call. If you don't know who your primary contact is at IMES, I'll have my email address up here in a second, but feel free to email or call me as well, and I'll get it to the right person or work with you to get your answer. In the digital world, on our website, one of the things that we strive for on our website is to make sure it's not more about advertising you than it is to give you a place to where you can truly benefit and utilize tools to help you in your practice. So we do have phenomenal sales tools, content, whether you're looking for copy or interest in the most update industry-specific topics or material on specific topics, we have that available on our website. We have the ability to quote term and guaranteed universal life cases and take the application on one screen. It's always accessible, so if you can't reach us in the middle of the night hours there, you could access that as well. All the forms are online. You can pull every form that we send over to you. We want to be assistance to you, whether you come to us or go to the website, information about the products, etc. If you wish to have your staff be educated on how to access and benefit and maximize our website, or you yourself, reach out to your primary contact today and we'll get an appointment set up here. Industry links, annuity news, have access to on-demand annuity rates, long-term care insurance information, and single premium life, who's who in the game, who qualifies, who has the minimum premium. In addition to that, simplifying it with your client. We have several relationships with software companies that help with the presentation. Just like we have to change our marketing practices, clients are changing the way they think. It's all about simplifying. Retirement Analyzer does a great job of taking that plan that someone may have in their head about how retirement's going to play out or how they want it to play out, and test with you whether or not it's going to work out the way they would have hoped. And it's going to give them an opportunity to ask the question, or you to ask the question, if your plan was not going to work out the way you'd hoped today, when would you want to know? Today or approach closer to retirement? Great tool. Highly recommend having a conversation with your representative about it. For those of you out there that are Series 65, or those of you that are saying, hey, I'm tired of leaving some money on the table. I'd like to be able to have control over my clients' assets and help them with their overall wealth retirement income picture, and you're considering or started to take your 65, let us know. We do have IAMS Wealth Management, in which we're able to help with that aspect of it. And again, an overall wide angle of your practice. So whether you're 65 or just have interest in more, let us know. And at the end, cherry on the top, we'd like to reward you for it. We have a company trip, 9 days, full days. We're going to do a Mediterranean cruise. Beautiful places like Capri, Sorrento, where the lemons grow, all the way down. What's unique about us and on the trip qualification is we do have a 18-month trip qualification. So you have till June 30th of 2022. That allows for an additional, some extra time for those of you that may think, well, I just came on board with IAMS. After I get ramped up, you don't have to miss out on time. So we have that time period to come. If you have interest in this, raise your hand, let us know, let your marketer know. We want to make sure we allocate resources as quickly as we can to those if you have an interest in something. And if you want to qualify for this trip, or you say, I'm going to be there, we want to know that too, so we can best allocate what we have as it comes up to get you what you need. So with that being said, you can follow us on social media. I'm going to bow out. And for those of you, when you're done saying thank you, please let this guy stop talking. I'm going to get Arianne over here on the phone. Hi, Arianne. How are you today?
Good. How are you doing?
You know, I'm having a good Monday. So Arianne is a new relationship of mine. I look forward to working with you going forward. She's been very, very helpful, much like myself. She's been in this with her company, Ascend, for over 10 years. And I don't want to put words in your mouth, but pretty much like me, made the coffee when it was day one, and everything from running copy to the great help that you do now with advisors and clients. So you've kind of been around every stage of your business, and I'm glad that you're on here today. I'm going to turn it over to you, Arianne.
Awesome. Thank you.
You are welcome. Give me a second here, and I'll get the technology worked out. We'll go from there.
All right. Can you see my screen okay?
Perfect. Yep, you are on. You got it.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. Well, I would like to thank Justin again for having me today. And I cannot say enough about Justin and his team at IAMS. They are wonderful to work with and very engaged, with our brokers. It's always been a pleasure working with you guys. So we do appreciate you having us on. Like you were saying, things change, right? So we don't necessarily have to reinvent the wheel, but sometimes we just have to look at it a little bit differently. And that's kind of where we're coming at with some of our new strategies with our whole life product. So I'm kind of a storyteller, and you'll find that out as we go. But one of the things that happened recently is I started looking at our different whole life products and looking at them as a final expense alternative, and then also as an alternative for juvenile whole life. But I'll dig into that a little bit, but that's what my presentation is going to be on today. So first, let me tell you a little bit about me. So my name is Arianne Holland, and like Justin said, I've been in all facets of Assurity Life Insurance Company. This is my 10th year with Assurity, It's a great company to work for. I really, really enjoy it. So I started out, doing some basic stuff. I did our home office interview team, which is a huge benefit. We have all of our interviews here in-house in Lincoln, Nebraska. Any type of medical questions that we need clarification on, anything an underwriter might need, we can call out here, within a couple of minutes of them requesting that. We're not waiting, weeks on end for interviews to get completed. So that was a big deal. Really enjoyed that. Moved on into issuing policies. So I got to see all the underwriting side of that, what that looked like, different things that might hold things up. And then I moved into underwriting myself. So I know a little bit about that as well. But my skill set is in sales really, and making connections. So that's where I found my home here, and I'm very happy to be here. So let's get started. Just want to talk to you about whole life. Going to give you some of the bits and pieces, and then I'll get into my story. So with our whole life with accelerated underwriting, we have face amounts that go all the way down to $10,000, and all underwriting classes are available at that lower face amount. And I'll explain why that's important here in a little bit. We have an accelerated death benefit rider that's also known as the living benefits rider. That's going to provide an opportunity to accelerate a portion of the benefit if your client is chronically ill and qualifies or has a terminal illness. So this is an important piece. So, a lot of times we'll see with an accelerated death benefit rider, they can only access that money with a terminal illness. That's not the case with this one. So if they're unable to do 2 of 6 of their activities of daily living, they can advance a portion of that money. So that's a much better value. The product also offers multiple pay options. So not everyone wants to pay premiums on the policy for the rest of their life or maybe into their retirement years. So we have a few options available, 10 pay, 20 pay, pay to age 65, and then of course, the pay to life option. So we'll see a lot of juvenile whole life policies that are maybe 10 or 20 pays as opposed to the pay for life. So we'll get a lot of those coming through. So that's a great benefit as well. The product is also available through our e-application process, which is on iGo. Once the accelerated underwriting is there, that is just there to speed up the process. So you can go out online, do your application on iPipeline, and potentially get an instant decision out there. So that's a great benefit as well. Obviously, with people not wanting to go in, do medical testing, age of Amazon, we get everything quick right away. So we found that people really like that. So the issue ages for this product will go all the way down to 15 days and on up to age 85. So we're able to cover a fairly large demographic. Right now, due to COVID, we are limiting the ages on this one up to age 69. We do hope that that will be lifted soon. We have seen it lifted on a few of our other products, so they're kind of falling like dominoes one after another. So we should hopefully have that lifted here shortly. And again, with our accelerated underwriting, that's available in tiers. I won't go through every individual one, but I'm going to highlight some that are pertinent to what we're talking about today. So for ages 0 to 17, we can do accelerated underwriting up to $300,000, and for ages 61 to 69, we can do accelerated underwriting for up to $100,000 in face. So when we're talking about, let's say, a juvenile whole life product or a final expense, that's well within the range. So we should be able to get those out fairly cleanly and fairly quickly. Underwriting classes for this product are fairly standard. As you can see, we have a range of non-tobacco and tobacco rates, and then, of course, our juvenile rate class. All right, and so now that we've gone over the highlights, I'm going to tell you a little story about juvenile whole life. So as the holiday season came to an end, I couldn't help but notice the number of gifts that I saw my friends, parents, grandparents bought for their grandchildren, easily over $150 just on Christmas gifts. I saw $180 pair of shoes, I mean, $150 didn't even touch it. It had to be like somewhere between $300 and $500. It was pretty crazy. Grandparents really like to spoil their grandkids, especially when they're young. And that's a great opportunity for you as the agent to talk to clients about what they bought for their grandchildren. Or if your client is younger, you can ask them how many gifts their parents bought their kids for Christmas. It's usually fairly excessive. Some of the things I've seen, I'd love to be a kid right now. They're making out like gangbusters. It's crazy. But a great way for your client to give a gift that will last a lifetime is to purchase participating whole life policies instead of spending money on toys that are usually forgotten in a week. So let's say your client spends around $300 a year on gifts for Christmas and birthdays. They can in turn take that money and put it to use in life insurance. So just as an example, we have Hadley here. This is my niece. I love using her as an example. Yeah, she made out like a bandit at Christmas this year. I know for a fact that her grandparents spent about $300 on toys and things for her that she forgot within about an hour once she found a box that she could make a fort out of. I kid you not. It was hilarious. So where else could we put that money? So instead, we could take that money, that $300 a year, grandma and grandpa can instead not spend that on gifts and invest that in Assurity's whole life. That's going to net us about $46,000 in death benefit for Hadley. I also included the guaranteed insurability rider on this policy, which is going to protect her insurability in the future. So this gift is really important for many reasons. You're protecting the child or the grandchild's insurability, which is a huge deal. It's a gift that can last a lifetime, not only with cash value, but also the fact that they're protecting their insurability for the future. So let's talk a little bit more about why Assurity's whole life. So our whole life is a true participating whole life product. It has cash value growth, which gives the client options in the future, for loans, withdrawals. They could do a reduced paid up policy. Like we said earlier, they have those short pay options. Client can purchase a 10 pay or a 20 pay. And in addition, that guaranteed insurability rider. Assurity is unique with the rider in that we are going to allow the client to increase their death benefit after the policy has been in force for only 2 years, and then can increase the death benefit 5 times before the age of 40, as long as there are 2 years between each option. Most companies have that first option available at age 25, and they have a certain number of years that it has to be done before the age of 40. So juvenile whole life. One thing I would challenge you to do is maybe take a look at your current book of business and think about the number of maybe grandparents you have, parents you have with children. Especially right now with the stimulus coming through, those people are getting an additional perhaps $1,400 that maybe they could use to go out and buy things for their children, or they could take that money and they could dump that into a juvenile whole life and get a fairly hefty policy for them pretty quickly. And I think if there's anything that I've learned from this pandemic, it's that, a few of us were not prepared. The mortality has been pretty high. And, one of the things that I definitely did was talk to my family about what they have invested for their children and if they have invested for anything in their children. And most of them had not. Some of them said, hey, I've got a CD. And I said, hey, take that money, put it into a juvenile whole life, protect their insurability now, get them that money now. If they don't need it later on in life, great. Let them take a withdrawal on it. Fantastic. Maybe they want to do a reduced paid up. Save them from having to worry about that burden should something like this happen in the future. And, I definitely hope that it doesn't. So let's say, okay, we've talked about juvenile. So let's talk about final expense. So with the final expense alternative, you're going to be looking at individuals in the age 60 to 65 range who are in good health. You would be surprised at how many people will fall into this range. With all of the advancements we have in medical technology, it's amazing the number of people who, are healthier than me at this point and are 65 years old. It's baffling. So why whole life here? Most final expense policies are standard rates with 4 tables built in automatically. So if you have somebody in decent health, why should they be paying a price with 4 tables built into the base rate class? Well, let me tell you a little story about that. My aunt is getting remarried soon to a very nice gentleman. And as they were looking at merging their lives together, my new uncle wanted to make sure that my aunt would not have any issues with burial costs should he pass away. He had been looking at final expense plans, and one day over one of our monthly Zoom catch-ups, he mentioned this to me. And I asked a little bit about, what his goals were, what he wanted to pay. And basically all he wanted was a $10,000 burial policy and was finding that he would be paying about $100 a month for it. So I decided that I was going to go ahead and run him a happy illustration here. So this is the illustration I ran with the $100 a month, just at our standard rate class, and I netted him a benefit of $20,716. So just knowing a little bit about his good health, I had this pre-screened by an underwriter, and we found that we could get him that standard rating that I had previously illustrated with no medicals whatsoever. So I took that $100 a month that he wanted to pay, and I input that into the illustration that you now have in front of you. So with that $100 a month, we were able to get him twice the death benefit. And this is, again, like I said, not an uncommon occurrence. It happens fairly frequently that you'll find people who are looking for a final expense product because they think that that's all they can qualify for, but based on their health, they can definitely qualify for more. So when I had this, I got him the $10,000 that he wanted for $50 a month instead. And standard isn't the only rate that you can get on this whole life policy. We can go all the way up to preferred, and I can tell you that I have seen people in the age 60 to 65 range get that preferred rating. We're going to do everything we can to get your clients into the best rate class possible. That's our absolute goal here, customer service all the way. So just a quick follow up here, just talking about some of our optional riders. And then I have a microsite that I'm going to show you that we created for juvenile whole life as well. So one of the riders that I really like to push is the critical illness rider. This one is going to pay a lump sum cash benefit upon diagnosis of each covered critical illness. So upon additional diagnosis, they're going to get paid for each different critical illness if the date of diagnosis is separated by about 6 months or so. And of course, if the diagnosis is not caused or contributed by the critical illness that it started with. So each individual critical illness, we're going to pay out on that 6 month separation, and it can't be caused by the prior critical illness. So why is this important? If you have written, let's say, a series of term policies or a series of life policies on some of your clients, let's say they happen to come down with some sort of critical illness. Oftentimes, the first thing to go is what they see as being unnecessary. So that can be, their term policy, their life policy, whatever it is they can get rid of to pay for their medical bills. You add a critical illness rider on top of this policy for, let's say, $40,000. Oftentimes, that's going to cost them maybe $10 additional a month, if that. They get diagnosed with that critical illness. That's going to save them from having to make that choice as to what they're going to pay for. They can keep up with their life insurance. They can keep up with their, whole life policy, their term life policy. That keeps them paying those benefits with you, and they could pay for any type of prescriptions, medical care outside of that as well. And adding it on to a whole life policy tends to streamline things a little bit as well. If you are looking at people who are trying to get different types of insurance, oftentimes they don't want 4 different policies. That can be confusing. You might come up with different dates on the billing. That can be confusing to a client. Add it into this policy. It's going to be less expensive, more streamlined for them, and it's going to be easier for them to understand. The next one we discussed earlier, it's that guaranteed insurability. So when we talk about different life events like marriage, divorce, death of a spouse or child, they're going to be able to have that guaranteed insurability, increase that amount of coverage they have if they need. We also can blend in a term. So, if you're going for somebody who might have a little bit more coverage that they don't necessarily want the final expense, or they don't want the juvenile whole life, they want more coverage, that's fantastic. If they want to blend in that term, they can do a 30-year term option or a 10 or a 20-year term option and blend that in and perhaps reduce the premiums on that. So they'll have that whole life option as well, but maybe they're covering a 20-year mortgage. So at that point, when that 20-year term period is done, that mortgage piece can fall off and you can move on and go on with the base whole life policy. So that's just a few of the riders that we have on this. So real quickly, let me just show you what we have for our juvenile whole life microsite page. Can you see that okay?
couldn't find the button. It's
No,
phenomenal. I see it right
you're
there.
fine.
You got it.
Not a problem.
Keep
Not
going.
a problem. Okay. So this is a microsite page that we have created for our children's whole life insurance. We don't create these lightly. We create these when we find that this is a concept that we are pushing that brokers are having a lot of luck with. With the holidays, with the stimulus package coming out, with the tax returns happening, this time of year is huge for the juvenile whole life push. The majority of what we're seeing right now is just juvenile whole life. And on average, if you think about it, if you know somebody who has grandchildren, they don't tend to just have one. They have quite a few. The majority of the grandparents I know have 4 or 5. So that tends to be a pretty hefty premium that comes out of all those grandchildren. So we created this microsite so that you can go out here. You don't have to log into our SureLink website. So if you're not contracted with us, you can absolutely go out here on your own and take a look. It's assurity.com/children's whole life, or excuse me, whole life. You can see that up here at the top. So we have different pieces that we've included here. So you can click here and give some tools to help you write those whole life products. Talks a little bit about how our products and our processes differ. And then we'll talk a little bit about opportunities. This is Brandon. Brandon just had a baby in the middle of COVID that he told us, he didn't tell us about it. One day we were in a meeting and he just held up a baby. So he kept that a secret for 9 months. But he was one of the people that sparked a lot of the talk about this because, his first Christmas with his son, they just showered him with gifts. I mean, he said he got thousands of dollars worth of gifts for his child, and he's not going to remember any of that. And he thought, hey, juvenile whole life, this is probably the best way to go. And then there's different tools down here to help you sell. So this will give you a link to our product highlights, our accelerated underwriting overview flyer. So it talks a little bit about the accelerated underwriting process, which is very, very simple. So you can go out to our iGo or the iPipeline site and enter in all that information with your client. We do DocuSign out there as well. A lot of the policies that we see go through there tend to have a decision fairly quickly. And then usually if it's not something we can approve right away, we have it out within a week. So that's going fairly quickly. We have flyers separated for whole life for parents. And then we also have whole life for grandparents. So we have those separated for you as well. So depending on your target market, you can go out there and get those flyers as well. And then we have some more highlights down here for you as well. So I think this site is really, really helpful. And Brandon does a great job of explaining juvenile whole life and the concept and how it worked out for his son. So really, really proud about that. Let me just open this back up here. Oops, excuse me. Pardon me. So this is myself, Arianne Holland, in my pre-COVID hair, and Miss Paige Phelps. She is our senior sales manager here in the region. If you have any questions or you need any assistance, obviously reach out to your IAMS team, and then they can reach out to us. But we're more than happy to help you with anything that you need. IAMS, like I said, great partnership with you guys, and we always appreciate chatting with you and getting things set up. Your customer service really is above board, so we're always proud to partner with you guys. So, and with that,
Thank you.
That is what I have for you.
Well, I'm sad to see you done. I've got a list of, as I always do, but not as much on this side of things I need to check with my family on as it relates to those child policies. So thank you. And I completely agree.
Yeah.
With my 2 kids, it got to a point where between the grandparents, and we're from a modern family, so they've got 2 sides. You end up getting, a couple 100 tons in toys. I don't know if the value is the same from everybody, so why not? So we started taking some and shifting it off into retirement for college savings, rather. Excuse me. But this would be a great idea. So I can appreciate that. Thank you for your time, Arianne. I am excited about our partnership. The other day, you and I were collaborating on the phone, and Arianne, in a time where insurance companies are, to hear it from the field, may not be as aggressive as reaching out as they once were, I'm seeing the opposite. I'm very happy to be partnering with you. With that being said, I'm going to be offering Arianne as a resource. She'll be, and so is Paige, be reaching out to you as we do follow-ups on this webinar so that you have 2 resources. One, the benefit of the knowledge that Arianne has and the experience and the ideas and stories that she's run across to producers in the field on positioning these products. And then also myself and your individual life insurance business development director here at IMES for any other questions you have on IMES, and then definitely on the Assurity product. So appreciate everybody's time and patience. We'll be looping back around with you. And Arianne, when you reach out to those individuals as well as me, we'll talk about here in a second, but there was a couple items that you share with me of value that we'll be handing out to those when she calls, a couple sales pieces as well, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. And if you, when we're reaching out, have those books of business ready. If you have some examples or something you want to dig into,
Yeah.
let me know. I am more than happy to help you with case design. We can make it a very productive meeting.
Absolutely. People to help, money to make, and my mind goes there already. So I'll be looping back around to you. If you have any questions on IMES, anything that I discussed in the prior to the event, please let us know. If you don't know who your direct contact or relationship here or primary contact is at IMES, just give me a call. I can be reached at our number 800-255-5055, and you'll always get a live person. We will pick up immediately. And just ask for the only Ford in life insurance or your primary contact, whether it be Tony Butler or Jess Riley. Life insurance is going to be a big deal this year. Appreciate your support as well. And if you were not able to attend the whole workshop, Arianne and I will both be getting around to you. Raise your hand, whether I talk to you or Arianne does, we can get you a recorded copy of this webinar as well. Have a great morning, great start to the week. Arianne, you too. I'll talk to you here soon.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Welcome.